back in Spider-Man Miles Morales, there was a very specific point on the map right here where the ground was simply not really there. You could clip through it and start swinging underneath New York like a mole man. This was not in the original Spider-Man for PS4. Back here the ground was completely solid. And in Spider-Man 2... oh! It's still like this. But what's really cool is under the map in Spider-Man 2, there are some changes compared to Miles Morales. This was discovered by user clkz, and it's really not that far away from where the actual problem in the map is. So once you've clipped through, travel to around here. You've got to be careful to keep on swinging, because if you go too low, you simply cannot swing anywhere, and sometimes you do a little T-pose, which is kind of funny. In the distance, you should see some kind of debris just sort of floating in the void, and as you get closer, it starts to form into an actual structure. You can land on this is completely solid, but be wary, this is underneath the water now, so there's no buildings to swing on. So if you don't land, you'll probably fall into the void and die. Once you're standing on the block, you can simply web zip and clip through this pipe, and all of a sudden you're in a very familiar setting. It's very reminiscent of a single-player level, where you narrowly just sort of crawl through these pipes, and this is either an untextured version of that, or an earlier version of that. But what's really interesting is there's something in here that you can never see in the actual level itself. In fact, even in this partially loaded, glitched-out version, it's quite hard to see here too. Once you make your way through the pipes, you'll suddenly see this giant circular pipe, but there's a problem. This partially loaded area that you're not meant to even go to has an invisible wall. But that's not gonna stop us. If Spider-Man clings to the wall just about here, it's actually possible to clip the photo mode camera through the wall. Now, before we talk about what's on the other side, there are some pretty big spoilers for Spider-Man 2. So if you've not played the game yourself, click away now. You're not gonna want to see this, okay? Alright. So a big part of the plot in Spider-Man 2 is Kraven is hunting New York villains. Scorpion is killed on screen, he tries to kill Black Cat before you save her and send her to Paris. But some villains are killed off screen, and you can see evidence for 3 of them during a Mary Jane mission. This is during the level Good Men, and in Kraven's hideout you can see things like Shocker's mask and gloves next to a deceased picture of his face. Electro's belongings are also there, and even Vulture's wings. It's a pretty big moment, solidifying just how big of a threat Kraven really is, just taking off all these big Spider-Man 1 villains as if it's nothing. And so, behind this wall, in this partially loaded, maybe unused area, is a trophy room. Kraven's got his throne with a bunch of skulls next to it, and right on the wall behind him are 4 different Spider-Man villains. The heads of Shocker, Vulture, Scorpion, and Rhino. And Rhino's particularly interesting as he's not actually in Spider-Man 2 in any capacity, despite being a really big deal in Spider-Man 1 and Miles Morales. He doesn't seem to be mentioned anywhere in Spider-Man 2, and while it's quite likely they're saving him for a DLC, it could also be that Kraven has just killed him. But because it's not actually accessible within the game itself by traditional means, we can't exactly count it as canon. This could just be an early, completely unused room that was scrapped and plans were changed. But still, it would have been very menacing to see Kraven just have 4 heads of Spider-Man villains just on a wall behind him. But yeah, is Rhino actually dead? Let us know what you think down below, and we will catch you next time. Bye everyone!